Hello, I'm Game Retainer, and in this video I'll be going over some of the best locations to find books and magazines in 7 Days to Die. I have already made a beginner's guide to books and magazines which I'll link up there, and that goes through various things such as trying to find specific books and magazines and all that good stuff. This video is a generic POI list where you will find books and magazines. This video is aimed at beginners, however if you are a veteran and you can think of any tips or anything you'd like to add, please put it in the comment section down below as it does help out newer players. The last thing before we jump in, I will be putting the coordinates up for the Navezgane map right there. I'm choosing the Navezgane map because it is kind of the beginner's map, so yeah. Now, let's jump straight in. Up first, we've got Richard Munch's Plaza. This one is an innuendo. I'm not going to explain it because I don't want to get demonetized. But it is a great place to come and find books. It is a tier 4 POI. However, if you are just interested in the books, then you can kind of cheese it a little bit and come straight to the Cracker Book, which is the building that you would usually get to last. But if you're patient enough to break down the door, there are a handful of bookshelves, most of which contain books. There will be a fair few zombies knocking about, so be careful, but you can walk away with a decent amount of books just by coming in and clearing this ground floor. If you're feeling extra cheeky, then just parkour your way up the side of the building and you can go through these loot containers and I'm sure you'll get a couple of books, but this is more generic loot than actual books and magazines. This is St. Mo's Cathedral, and it is located just a stone's throw away from our previous entry, which you can see right there. This one is also a tier 4 POI, although it does seem like it is more difficult to clear, or at least that's the impression I've got from the numerous times I've gone through this place. It does have quite a nice library if you're willing to go underground, and while the bookshelves aren't exactly overflowing with reading materials, there is enough to warrant coming here. Maybe don't come here too early in your playthrough because things might end disastrously, but you know, mid-game-ish, depending on your skill set. If you are interested in finding the main loot area, then you need to go up, up, and up, and make your way to the top of the tallest tower. And in here, you'll find your loot. We're staying in the snow biome a while longer and checking out Cracker Caf. Anybody who's seen any of my other videos where I talk about POIs, I featured this one quite a lot. It is, in my opinion, one of, if not the, best Cracker Book location in Navezgane. It does have a decent amount of books knocking about just in the front of the store. It is a tier 3 POI by default, but since it is located in the snow biome, it is a little bit more difficult than if it were located in the pine forest. Making our way through to the back, you will see several book crates, which can be smashed open and looted for all their lovely goodies. There is also a reinforced chest at the back here, and some other little bits that you can scrounge up as you go. If you are a low level and you happen by this place, you should be able to clear it, but if you're not very confident, maybe just run through, grab these books, and run away. If you are in this area and you want to grab a few extra books, then you can head down the road and make your way into Special Tots. This kid's school is pretty decent, to be fair. There are a few bookshelves in here, and if you make your way up the stairs and head through into here, you will find a small library where there's a few other little piles. This place isn't typically difficult to clear, especially if you are only going in for those piles. If you are wanting the loot on this one, I'm going to show them for all these entries, then just come up to the roof and grab these. The next entry on the list is the Montgomery Public School. Located in the Wasteland, this is technically a tier 2 POI because of the Wasteland difficulty boost, but it is in fact a tier 0, so you won't have much difficulty making your way through here. There are books dotted around. This is a school, after all. Most schools in 7 Days to Die have books. Most schools in real life have books. As for the library, if you want to make your way to the second floor, there is a nice little library with a small but respectable selection of reading materials. We've come back to the snow biome for this next one. This is the Wright Residence, and it is a fantastically interesting location that you should definitely visit. I've featured this one on a few videos as well. I really like this one. It is a tier 4 POI, although the snow biome does boost its difficulty a little bit. There is no order to this list, by the way. I will have some easier locations to clear coming up in just a minute. The highest concentration of books is located in the attic or loft, depending on where you're from. You can see there are multiple bookshelves, and while the bookshelves aren't full, again just like the other entries, there's enough to get by. I'm not actually going to show you the main loot area because I want you to find it yourself. This is a really interesting location to explore. Instead, I will show you the size of the underground complex because it is so fun and so interesting, so get down here and have a look for yourself. We're paying the Pine Forest biome a visit for this next one. Located just on the outskirts of Dyersville, you will find the standard Cracker Book store. This one is pretty good to come to during the early stages of the game, as it is a tier 2 POI and pretty easy to clear. There are plenty of books to be found inside the store itself, and surprisingly few enemies. You won't see any now on this game because I'm using console commands just to make recording easier. There will be some here, but you should be able to manage. The main loot area is located on the roof of this building, and funnily enough, this is also a good place to spend the first few days. You'll find more books, and more books. You will also get a couple of containers, one of which contains books. Up next is one of the more difficult locations to clear. This is Cracker Book HQ, and I'm not really a fan of this one, if I'm being honest. I just feel for the difficulty, the payout's not that great. However, if you are looking to get some quick books, you can, provided you come here armed to the teeth. If you're willing to break these spikes and fight off the horde that will approach you from in here, you can get a handful of books. Nothing too crazy, but it's okay. There are also offices on the upper floors which can be looted for a few more books. And if you fight your way down to the basement, you will find the main loot area, alongside a few boxes containing more books. Located just a stone's throw away from the Cracker Cafe I mentioned early on during this video is the Navezgane High School. This tier 4 school is pretty good for getting books, unsurprisingly. It has a pretty nice library that you can come in and loot. Also, classrooms, as I mentioned in the other school entry, you will find books in most classrooms. If it's the loot you're interested in, then the main loot room can be found around the side of the building in the gym. Just be warned, there are enemies hiding in the rafters and pretty much everywhere else, so coming in here will trigger a lovely wave of enemies that you'll have to take down. Grover High is next on the list, and if you love dicing with death, then absolutely pay this one a visit. This is a tier 5 POI, and it is teeming with undead enemies. However, with it being a school, it is also pretty good for getting books, and it is one of those odd POIs that has its main loot room or loot area located within view of the exterior. You can smash your way through here, but you will activate a bunch of nasty people. There are books throughout, I've said that several times, it is a school. There is also a library here which you can come in and clear out of books. It is a pretty nice one to grab and go, but emphasis on the go, this is a difficult place. To round off this video, I'm going to do a few quickfire locations which are more honourable mentions than anything else, but if you are looking to scrounge up a few extra books, then you might want to hit these places up. This is the Whitehill Church of God, and it has a pretty cool, expansive underground area which I do recommend exploring. It does also have a very, very small selection of book cabinets here. The reason why that one gets a quick mention is because it is next to this daycare facility, and inside you will find a few more book piles. So whilst one of these POIs isn't particularly good, if you combine them you can get a few books pretty quickly. Moving on, we have the Red Church Residence. This one is a pretty good one to clear in general for loot, and it's not a bad place to set up shop. It doesn't have a lot in terms of books, but it has 4 bookcases here, and if you're willing to smash the back doors in, then you can grab these and run away pretty quickly, hence it getting a very quick mention. Up next, we have the H&N Bank Building, and while it does look like a rather intimidating POI, it really isn't. There's not a lot of enemies inside, and it can be pretty good for getting books. There are a few offices dotted on most of the levels, some of which have some bookshelves and filing cabinets that you can loot. The most interesting part is behind this door. While you're not going to get a lot, behind this door you will find multiple mailboxes, a safe and a few other goodies. This one is fun, I do like it, and I feel like this one gets overlooked quite a lot, so I thought I'd just give it a quick mention here. Dishong Tower also gets a very quick mention. This is filled with offices which can be pretty lucrative if you're willing to spend the time to clear out this POI. Just a word of warning, it is a very difficult place to clear out, but if you want to come in for some quick loot, there is a cracker bookstore on the ground floor which has nothing too special but a few books, and just a quick mention, there is a little Savage Country here. Not a lot in it, but if you're very lucky, you might get yourself a legendary part or two. The last quickfire mention is the Country Cracker book. I was torn between giving this one a full mention, but I decided not to in the end because there aren't a lot of books inside. That said, it is perfect to come in the early stages of the game because there are very few enemies inside. You will find books, books and books, and you can clear this place in quite literally 60 seconds or less. Really doesn't take long. So I hope you found this video interesting, and to answer any new players' questions, no, the stuff behind me, you can't visit, I spawned it in because I want it to look cool, okay? As I mentioned at the beginning, this is aimed for beginners, but if there are any veterans who have any more locations that are worth checking out for books, please leave a comment down below, and as always, thanks for watching.